So let's now talk about sort of the tools we can give you to teach instead of programming and AI as a tool for your students. And that's basically our new AI feature. So let's showcase that. So let me start sharing quickly. Shares. Yes. Some key features of the AI assistant. With CodeGrade's AI assistant, it's based, it's linked to an assignment basically. So what you will be able to do is configure multiple AI assistants for an assignment. That you can basically give a system prompt and you can sort of tell it what it should do. But I'll showcase that in a second. And if you enable this, then basically students will be able to use this straight in the editor, but also in the submission overview. So if you don't use the editor, which I know a lot of our customers maybe use Git to hand in, or they use the file uploader, it will also be available in the submission overviews after students hand in. The big thing that we want with this is that you as a teacher get insights into what your students are doing. So we're basically giving you the power to view and assess from the student conversation. And then everything runs on Cloud. That's the model we use at AWS. So for sort of all your data and those kind of things, this is all compliant with our current data processor policies. So there's like no changes at the university level, especially for European customers. That's necessary to integrate this into your courses. Let me jump into a demo, and let me go into the student view. So I basically have the editor open with like a Fibonacci assignment here, and then let me just quickly put in some codes. Right. And then again, you can use this normally. So students might run the auto test, and it will run. But they will also, once the AI system here, there will be a button here with the assistant. And basically, what I will be able to do is this is sort of how it opens. For this specific assignments, there are 3 different assistants that have been configured. One focusing on learning, another one on sort of feedback and code review, and then another one on actual coding. So this is sort of more like a full coding assistant. So I can just go in here and ask it a question. For instance, can you explain Fibonacci sequence? And once I start it, it will basically immediately give me an answer, and it will explain the Fibonacci sequence. And then maybe I'll ask, can you implement this in C++? And it will say, I can't implement it for you because this assistant is basically configured as a system prompt to be focused on learning. So it doesn't give away any answer to the student. It will help the general approach and all that stuff. But if I compare this to, for instance, if I go a new chat and I go to this coding assistant, which is a bit more powerful to the student, can you implement the Fibonacci sequence in C++? Now it's all of a sudden happy to show you how to do this, and we'll give an implementation here. In this case, a recursive one, and we can just copy paste this into the editor and run the test and all those things. So basically, you as the teacher will be able to sort of do whatever you want to give students access to whatever assistant you please, or even multiple. So they can always just create a new chat and switch to a different one. For instance, the feedback. And then I might say something like, can you feedback this code? And then run it. And then it will give me some feedback on the code. So that's great. Again, what I can also do is, as my auto test has ran, I get some feedback from auto test here. I might go into my learning assistant, and the auto test is giving this feedback. Can you help me? And then again, it will explain basically that you should return 1 maybe here. So then I go to my code and maybe I find to return 1 now, and then I run it again. And then I can sort of use the AI as well to sort of explain feedback I might get from the auto test. And now it actually works, and I can go ahead and hand it in, and I'm done with this assignment, and I can move on to the next. A cool thing that you can see, it will run again, is if the assistant is enabled on an assignment, a new tab opens here, assistant chat. So here I will actually be able to see sort of all of the different chats I've had with the assistant. If the assistant is still available here, I can also further talk to it here. So maybe after submitting, I get some feedback from the auto test, or I look at the code, and I might ask it more questions. Let's see how this looks like from the teacher perspective then. View submissions. So here, as a teacher now logged in, if I go to a student, similarly as the student, you can view the whole conversation the student had. So this sort of gives you the opportunity, if you want to do more prompt engineering and sort of implement this into your course. This is a very easy way for you as a teacher to actually see what students are doing. So you can see all of their chats. You can see the prompts. You can see all of the issues they may have had. You can see when they handed in a submission, and you can actually click on that and go to the previous submission as well. And that should give you more insight into sort of what the students are doing. To configure this, it's really easy. So if you go to the settings page, and basically once you've opted into the feature, it will be available on an assignment level. There's basically a new block here called AI Assistance, and I can simply add it. So let me actually just create a new assignment. And then scroll down. We have 3 sort of default prompts. The one focused, the full coding assistant, which is basically the only limit that it has is that it answers coding questions. So it won't tell you what the weather is tomorrow, or try to tell you. We have the learning assistant that sort of minimizes the amount of code it gives you, and then feedback assistant, which is more focused on code reviews and things like that. So if I click on this, you can actually see the system prompt here. And I can also edit this. So for instance, if I do something for Python, I might add something like for Python. So the assistant will be primed with that. And then maybe this is a specific assignment on some subject, so you might add some more information in here. Again, the differences between these is at the moment basically the prompt. So here you can see that for the learning assistant, it may never use the code. The user offers directly, don't perform coding tasks, all that stuff. And then for the feedback assistant, again, we have another system prompt, making sure it's constructive, and all those things. And basically only offer code snippets with examples of improvements. Once you create these, submit it, they're enabled. And if at some point you want to make sure that students cannot send messages anymore to the AI assistant, you simply set it to disabled, submit it, and then they can still see the conversations they had. You can still see the conversations they had, but they cannot send new messages. So that's sort of a quick initial demo of the feature. It's the goal basically is to make it really simple for you to switch on, and for your students to use it. As you can see in the demo already, it's generally really fast with giving answers. So it should be very responsive to your students. In terms of future vision, so currently what you see is that the assistant, basically you give the system prompt, and that's sort of what you can do. What we want to add in the future to this, which will make it really powerful, we think, is that you can configure to give it access to things like the description, the auto test results, and the student code. So then it can give you more detailed feedback on sort of what students are doing. And again, you'll be able to configure that yes or no for the assignment. So the real advantage of that is that students don't have to copy paste their code in, especially if you're using sort of more general assistant. We're also working on we want to work on sort of more global assistants. So these are sort of connected to specific assignments, but just a global assistant that's built in that can help you with using CodeGrade, whether it's from sort of a student that wants to know how to hand in with CodeGrade, or you that might be setting up automated tests. Because we know a lot of teachers already use things like ChatGPT to write tests for them and help them. But integrating this will hopefully also make that powerful. And we also hope to get a lot of sort of customer feedback based on sort of this and what professors are doing with this in their course, and based on that, sort of further develop the feature.